Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We're glad you decided to join us this morning. We're here every week meeting interesting people and talking about topical issues, and I don't think anything's more relevant really today's economy than the real estate issues that are going on not only in Oklahoma City but around the country.
We have been able to capture Don Kennedy, the CEO of the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Association of Realtors, to join us today to talk about that. You're exactly right. I don't know of anybody who's got more on her plate on a daily basis on trying to keep up with what's going on in the financial world than Don has, and that the realtors have, because the real estate market, of course, was part of the original type of loan that was given a good bit of blame. The subprime loan was given a good bit of blame for our financial crisis. Some are saying now it wouldn't have mattered. It was going to happen anyway, with or without the subprime lending. But we've been able to capture her for a few minutes, and we're going to bring her to you today, and I think it'll be interesting.
All right, and we'll let her go in a half hour. But first, she's going to tell us all about what's going on in the world of real estate. Don Kennedy, today's guest on The Verdict.
In driving rain, blistering heat, and bitter cold, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, Chesapeake drills non-stop for natural gas on American soil. Chesapeake drills more new gas wells than anyone else, and from those wells collects the most drilling information and acquires more 3D seismic images, leveraging every efficiency to improve the odds of finding more natural gas every day with every well we drill. The better job we do of discovering bigger reserves of clean-burning American natural gas, the greater the prosperity of our nearby communities, our state, and our nation. And as long as there are more gas reserves to be found here in the U.S., we will never rest. Chesapeake. Natural gas wins the day.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
We are today very pleased to welcome back Don Kennedy, the Chief Executive Officer of the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Association of Realtors. Don came to us from Wisconsin, and I think we are very pleased she has come, and I think considering the real estate market in Wisconsin, she's probably glad she came as well. She did her undergraduate work at Franklin University and pursuing her master's degree from University of Wisconsin-Plattsville. She is involved in many community activities wherever she has been, including community theater, but I think the real estate market's got her a little wrapped up in Oklahoma City at the moment, but hopes to be involved in that in the future. This is her second visit to The Verdict. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me bring my guest.
Well, and our additional guest today is Amber Corbin. Amber is a native Oklahoman from Midwest City. She did her undergraduate work at Oklahoma City University and did her law work at the University of Oklahoma. She is a fourth-generation realtor. Her title is Governmental Affairs Director for the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Association of Realtors. We're pleased you join us.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Glad you're here.
We're glad you're both here too, and you know, these are stressful might be the right word in the real estate industry and the financial industry as well. And we're taping this show here end of October, 1st of November, so some of the information might be dated by the time that this show airs because these things are ever evolving. But what's been the effect of the real estate market here in Oklahoma City?
Well, I think definitely when the news story broke about the subprime mortgages and a little bit of the housing bubble burst, and then there were some other issues. That was in July and August, and Congress was responding with some FHA reform, that sort of thing. I think that did impact our market. We saw about a 14% decline in sales in July and August. And I find it so interesting how the media has so much power over the market, because as soon as the focus in September, October went to Wall Street and what was happening with Wall Street, our sales went up. And so I always caution people that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you believe everything you read or hear and say. We've been very fortunate in Oklahoma. I mean, actually, we've been stable throughout the years. And that July, August was the first time that we saw any kind of decline, and in my opinion, it was a false decline created by a huge media frenzy that the housing market was falling down. As soon as the focus moved over to Wall Street, our sales went back up. So.
In other words, you're saying that consumer confidence or perceived consumer confidence has a lot to do with what actually happens in the marketplace?
Absolutely.
Just like it does on the stock market?
Absolutely. It's, perception is reality. It just is. What you perceive becomes your truth.
We are so pleased to have your association as a sponsor on The Verdict, and I watch every week at your commercial, which kind of subtitled would be, "We're lucky to live in Oklahoma insofar as real estate market is concerned." Does that remain the case today?
Absolutely. I did pull our statistics this morning, and we had greater closed volume this September than we did last September. Our median home sales price has stayed consistent. Our days on market is still in the mid-80s. So really, other than that little bubble we had in July and August, everything is about the same. It is great to be in Oklahoma. But then I go back to our last time that we spoke, and I think the biggest part of it is that we did not have that huge appreciation in home values. I was reading yesterday the National Association of Realtors report, and it's nationally home values have declined 9%. In Oklahoma, we're still at that consistent, about 130 in Oklahoma City. Amber was saying that she recently read a state report that said we were actually a little bit higher on the median homes throughout the state, but in Oklahoma City, we've been consistent. So we're very, very fortunate.
Well, Amber, this is an interesting time to be taking on the job that you're taking. What's your take on what you're seeing, and what do you have to add?
Well, it is very interesting because there is so much legislation being passed almost every day that affects our industry. So it's going to be really tough for me to be able to keep up with all this, but I feel like I'm up to the challenge.
Now, you're talking mainly about what's going on in Washington, or are there things happening here in Oklahoma?
Well, mainly in Washington. Here we're trying to be proactive, and we're trying to get an employer-assisted housing program going, and we're going to start that in January. So really excited about that, and that's going to help homeowners get down payment assistance to purchase homes, which will really increase our home sales here in Oklahoma.
Well, now you have great credentials for your new position, being an Oklahoma City native or a Midwest City native in the Oklahoma City area, and then doing your undergraduate work at OCU and your law work at OU. But I suspect in your position, having that law degree is going to be helpful.
Well, I think it certainly does. I think that it enables me to read contracts better and also read the legislation and really understand what it's saying.
Will you be involved in the education activities of the association as well, and the activities that you make available to your members?
I think that I probably will be involved in some of the education. We do have a staff member that does the education part, but I will be available to talk about new things in the industry, especially like the new FHA programs that will affect people being buying FHA homes, or I'm sorry, with FHA money. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dawn, when this settles down, and we assume it will settle down, is it going to be harder for someone to get a loan to buy a house?
I think so. That's just my opinion. I think it will be more difficult in that you're going to see the credit tightening. I think that is a national effect outside of Oklahoma that affects Oklahoma. I do think it'd be a little bit more difficult to get a loan. The biggest thing that I foresee is it's going to require higher down payments. And that's where, again, piggybacking on what Amber said, that's where we're trying to be proactive as an association and develop a means for first-time home buyers, even second home buyers, to develop this, a bigger down payment and what they'll need to do. A big part of our program that we're working on is an education piece and working with lenders. But also looking to have the employer themselves look at maybe doing a matching benefit, not just a pension match, but maybe a down payment assistant match as a benefit, as a recruitment tool. Sign-on bonuses are very, very common in the health industry, and as you know, that's our second largest industry here in Oklahoma. So there's a real opportunity for the key businesses here to pull together and keep our home market going, keep our industry going. I do think it'll be tougher. I don't think it certainly will be impossible.
But one of the factors there is interest rates.
Right.
And if interest rates are low, then that kind of works against what we just discussed, and that from some respects, it'll make it easier for people to qualify.
Exactly. And we actually have seen on the national market as well that the reason home sales went up last month is because home prices dropped. And so now homes are more affordable than they were a month ago. And you bring up a very good point. Interest rates are lower, so it should be able to qualify for more. But and the NAR's body is trying to get some other incentives going through Congress to help kind of combat that need for the greater down payment. So
I'd like to speak to something, if I may. The greater down payment, I don't want our watchers to think that it's going to be 20% like it used to be. Instead of from 0%, it's 3.5% for an FHA loan and then 5% for a conventional. So it's still not this great amount that we've seen before. Well, actually before my lifetime, but
well,
before.
I certainly remember it.
So it's still very affordable to buy a house, and a
Absolutely.
great down payment isn't needed. There's just not. It's extremely hard to get a 0% down payment now.
I see.
To what extent, Dawn, do you think Oklahoma's history of having a rather slow appreciation in home value and very few subprime loans, what have those two things done in our market?
Well, I think that is why we've been pronounced by Forbes the #1 recession-proof city in Oklahoma. I think that is why the Oklahoman says we're a ray of light, because we did not have that huge appreciation and we did not have a huge subprime mortgage market. Our investment in Oklahoma as citizens, as homeowners, it's good. I mean, if you look back 10 years, your home is still worth far more than it was 10 years ago. It's just the best bet as far as investing in your future, better than stocks, because home appreciation, there's only so much land. It's a finite, it's the law of supply and demand, it's a finite source. We didn't go very high. And by not going very high, we kept that first-time home buyer affordability available. And that's key in a housing market, because without the first-time home buyer, there isn't moving up to the nicer, and then moving up to the nicer, and then moving up to the retirement home.
Let me jump in and get us to our first break of the show. Dawn Kennedy, Amber Corbin, our guests. We're discussing the real estate market in Oklahoma and around the country. You're watching The Verdict, and we'll be right back.
I'm Major Matthew Newmeyer, currently stationed at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and I'm a Chickasaw. In 2003, when I was part of the drive to Baghdad, I found being a soldier was going to be a lot more than just firing your weapon and being in a combat situation. Being a warrior, but also being the good citizen. That is probably why American soldiers are so respected, because here are 18 to 20-year-olds. 1 minute they're in combat, people are shooting at them. The next minute they're treating children just as if they were in their own home. That warrior ethos that the Chickasaws had also translates directly to what you do as a soldier. Strength, integrity, the grace, and the idea that you're part of a greater community, that you give to that community, that you find it important to be the best you can be at what you're doing.
Home values are down in some states, but not in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's home values have increased 4.2% during the past 12 months. Unlike some states where home values have decreased as much as 20%. Good thing you're in Oklahoma. There may be real estate problems in some states, but there has never been a better time than now to buy or sell a home in Oklahoma. One of the most affordable states in the country, Oklahomans are buying and selling homes every day, and an Oklahoma Realtor can show you how. Good thing you're in Oklahoma.
That land next door was a mess. Take more than a lawnmower to revive that land. I heard the oil and natural gas people was cleaning up old oil sites, and it wouldn't cost us a plug nickel. Oh, yes, sir, it was quite a revival. The whole church showed up, want to make a playground for the kids. It sure is a blessing.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett, Kent Myers, our guests Don Kennedy and Amber Corbin. They are experts on the local real estate issues that are going on, affecting so many Americans. And right here in Oklahoma City, I think we've kind of come to the conclusion that although it may not seem all that great, we're better off than just about everybody else out there. And we have a new item called the Realtor Store. What is that all about?
Yeah, what is that all about?
We've been getting a lot of publicity for our store, and we're thrilled about that. The Realtor Store is basically a section of our building that we have partitioned off and made into an actual storefront. And we're providing any kind of tool you could possibly think of in addition to the realtor forms. Real estate transaction forms are kind of our core business in that area. But we have everything from custom writers, we're doing custom printing, calculators, financial calculators, gifts, magnets, books, tapes, videos that you can watch to help you increase your sales as a realtor. We have our infamous now St. Joseph statue, which apparently if you bury upside down in your backyard and do something else, it's supposed to help you sell your home, but I'm not sure if that's really true. My home
No return guarantee on that.
No return guarantee.
No.
I know, I said I'm going to have to fly home, buy one from our realtor store here in Oklahoma City, fly back to Wisconsin, bury it in my backyard, and see if I can sell my home up there, because it apparently seems to work. It certainly isn't a new idea. Most associations do have some form of a realtor store, even if they just sell brochures or forms to the brokers. We think that ours is such a success for a couple of key reasons. Number one, we went to the best. We went to the Sacramento Association of Realtors, who have probably one of the most successful stores in the country, and said, come here and teach us how to do it. And by the way, he loved Oklahoma City. The manager, Cassie Pappin, of that store is just an incredible, driven, intelligent young woman who has just taken it from, oh, here's a few forums, to a full service outlet. It's just incredible what we have to offer there. We look at that as a good revenue source, which allows us to go ahead and do some additional educational programming. And a really nice side point of the Realtor Store is several of the affinity programs that we're involved with Office Depot and Lowe's. They give us a little money back every quarter for when our members shop there. That all goes into our scholarship fund. And the scholarship funds are to help our members' children, immediate family, pursue a college degree. And so we're really thrilled that we can offer something even more, that not only are we giving you a great value, not only are we helping drive business to other local businesses, but in turn, we're investing back in Oklahoma through college scholarships to our realtor family. I just think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm very excited.
What about the number of members of your association, nationally and locally? Is that going up? I would assume it's a tough time to be entering the market from the professional side of it.
I say that it fluctuates quite a bit. Right now, at the present moment in time, we're about 200 members less than we were January 1. And however, though, that is somewhat normal because it does fluctuate up and down. I would think that at this point in time, we are probably going to see less realtors getting into the market. It isn't quite as easy to make a living as it was even 6 months ago. And I don't know if that will happen, but I did project for it as far as my planning for 2009. I did project for a slight decrease in membership. Interestingly enough, because Oklahoma market is so good, our MLS membership is up, the multiple listing service membership. So,
How many members do you have?
we have, when I ran the count not too long ago, about a week or so ago, it was 3,209.
And you've only lost 200?
We were at 3,489 on Jan 1, so about 200, 240.
Amber, looking ahead to the 2009 legislative session that'll be taking place in Oklahoma City, what new legislation, if any, do you see on the horizon, and how active would you all be in trying to get something going or to stop something from happening?
Well, the Oklahoma Association of Realtors watches the legislation very closely, and they have come up with a lot of things that we're watching. But as far as they take care of the whole of Oklahoma,
I see.
so they're really looking out for us in that perspective.
I see. Okay.
But you interact with them, I take
Yes.
it. If you have an opinion, you won't sit silent.
No, I do not sit silent. I'm not known for that.
What about the educational work that's going on in your association?
Well, you know, that's a huge commitment from my leadership, and we think that the education was actually a part of why Oklahoma market remained so successful, because our realtors were educated and knew how to set pricing and were very aware of what was going on in the market. Part of what makes our education program so successful is it is free to realtors, and they can avail themselves of that. We just finished 2 huge educational events. We had a technology institute in August and brought in several national speakers, and it was very, very well received. And that focused on, you know, what technology should I use, what are coming down the road, what's important, what isn't, where can I get the most value. And then October, first weekend in October, we had a commercial institute specifically geared towards our commercial members. We did do some of that in conjunction with the CREC, which is the Commercial Real Estate Council here in Oklahoma City. And again, brought in 2 national speakers. It, again, was free to the members and really helps them look at their businesses in depth. That's why we like the institutes. Other than just your continuing education classes or your motivational classes, these are very much hands-on, college-level type experiences in an 8-hour day. So we keep working at it and looking at new things all the time.
It looks to me like you're doing an awfully good job of making sure your members can rely on your association for what's going on, because you're part of your commission is to stay constantly alert for changes in the market and the market area. I guess that's one of the things you're really trying to focus on.
Yes, absolutely.
Make yourself relevant to your members.
Absolutely. One of the goals for 2009 is to expand our education into doing some post-licensing and pre-licensing classes. And again, for the same reason, we're looking to become an even greater partner with our brokers, our broker owners, they're small business owners. And there are areas that we can probably fulfill at a much greater cost of economics of scale.
Yeah. I think it'd be important for you to just, what is your message right now? What is the real estate industry's message to consumers and sellers of homes right now? What are you trying to accomplish?
I think the biggest message that we're trying to accomplish is, we need to keep the buyers in the market, that home ownership is the American dream, and we all have a responsibility for that dream. So call your congressman and say, we want you to use part of that bailout to help, homeowners. I think that's really a very important thing. Look at legislation that will help us. How about making that first-time home buyer credit available to every taxpayer who's buying a principal residence, or make it currently the credit you do have to repay it over a 15-year time span, and make that credit simply that, a credit. The American people need to ask their leadership, their Congress, we are just as important as Wall Street, help us save the American dream.
Amber, what would you add to the message that you'd like to see your association give out to potential consumers or people out there who just might be watching and thinking about these things for the first time?
I would just like to add that we've said this before in this program, but the Oklahoma market is doing great. Yeah. It's still a really great time to own a house in Oklahoma. Home values are increasing, even if just a little bit a year.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was wondering, have they flattened out? Is there evidence that they or have we ever seen housing prices go down here in the last few months.
I think maybe there might be small pockets, like some neighborhoods where you might not be able to sell your house for more than what you bought it for 2 years ago.
Right.
But as far as deflation, I haven't experienced that, and I don't believe that we have experienced that as a whole either.
Great. Well, we're going to have to wrap this show up, but obviously real estate and everything that's going on in the United States in this issue could be taking this show and maybe several others, so we'll have to have the two of you all back on. But
Yep.
Thanks for being such important spokespeople for your industry, and I know a lot of people are following this. Kent and I'll have a final word after this.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers wrapping up a show with the Realtors.
Yeah, Don Kennedy and Amber Corbin were nice enough to join us today and gave us a lot of good information. And just as their commercial says, things are looking up in Oklahoma. We're not nearly as bad as most of the places in the country.
Real estate values have not retreated and most likely will be going up. Let's take a look at some website information where you can get some more information about these two guests, okcrealtors.com. Or you can go to our website and give us an idea that you'd like to see about a future show. For Kent, I'm Mick. We'll see you next week.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.